Alright, so step one, get a container. I have a stock pot here. Well, my wife has a stock pot, which I'm using. Makes the world of a difference because there's just a lot of extra room. You have to worry about boiling over as much. But you got to put 1 gallon of water in here. Alright, as close to a gallon as you can get. Not everyone has stock pots. The instructions do say if you can't do this with a gallon, it's okay. You can make a smaller batch and add water later, you know, and mix everything together. So not the end of the world, but ideally you'd have a full gallon here with space for boiling. All right, I put it on high. I just put this on. Once this gets up to 155 degrees Fahrenheit, we're going to steep our special grains inside the cheesecloth they gave us. All right, how do you know it's going to be 155 degrees? Well, they gave us a thermometer. How nice. So we're going to stick this in there, make sure we're at 155, all right, and steep this for 20 minutes. Take it out and throw it away. It's important, it says in the instructions, when you take this out, not to squeeze it like a tea bag, because that can push a lot of tannins in there and, you know, make it a little bit too off, you know. So I'm glad I read that, because naturally I would want to squeeze all those juices out as much as possible, so we're not going to be doing that. So yeah, that's all. When this is up to 155 degrees, I'll get back to you. All right, so here's the thermometer. We're past 100, 150. Let me put this back right here. You can see you have to kind of keep 155. It's a little bit higher, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this in here. Turn the heat down a little bit. All right, and at 155, we want to steep this for 20 minutes. All right, so there it is. Let's let that sit on the bottom. All right, this is going to be a game of playing around with the, you know, the knob to see what's going to hold that temperature, because right now it's just a little bit higher, but 155 is perfectly ideal. All right, that has been 20 minutes, so we're able to keep the proper temperature. I ended up shutting it off. I don't know if I can show you this here, but we're right about, well, now it's dropping, of course, because I took it out, but you can see it was, at least, hopefully you saw, at 155, or at least close to it, right? All right, so that's the first step. Now what we want to do is take this bag out. I'm actually going to use the end of that thermometer to kind of lift up the back of the bag so I can grab it. Bear with me. Okay. Because that is mighty hot. 155 is just a little hotter than you want to hold on to. Okay, so let this drain as much as possible, but I'm not going to squeeze it. All right, just let that drip off. And this is going to go right into the garbage. We don't need this any longer. All right, so we start off with water, and what we're left with now is our wort. All right, our wort is basically our unfermented beer, at least the start of it. Okay, so now that that's off, hold on, let me grab, let's get a wooden spoon. Just kind of stir this up a little bit. Now we're going to bring our wort up to a boil. Okay, so I'm going to put the heat on high. All right, so this guy is just about to boil. That's when we want to take it off of the heat. All right, so I'm going to shut the heat off for a second, slide this over right to this spot, and we are going to add our malt extract. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take your, in this case it's Bryce Bavarian wheat, the extract, okay, which is our malt and barley, and we're going to incorporate that completely into the pot. All right, so what we're going to do is pour it in slowly, make sure it does not clump, it can't stick to the bottom, it can't, you know, have lumps in there. You want to put it in a little at a time, stir it up so it's completely mixed in and completely dissolved. All right, so hang on just a second. Get this bag open. All right, so little by little, you'll be adding it into our worts. All right, let's pour some in there. Let's stir this up. Smells wonderful, by the way. I happen to love malted milkshakes. All which is malt powder inside a, well, chocolate malt milkshakes, I would say specifically. So right now it's just kind of looking like, I don't know, dark pasta water, I suppose, just kind of an off-white, yellowish color. Now this is going to be very, very sticky. Alright, so this is the one thing I've read over and over again, is that if this boils over, it's going to make a hell of a mess. So you want to try your very best to really watch this and make sure it doesn't boil over. Because once this is all incorporated, we're going to put this back on medium-high heat, and we want this to go for an hour. It's going to be basically like in between a simmer and a boil for an entire hour. And that's going to ensure that all the flavors are completely brewed together. And then towards the end is when we're going to add other things like our hops. And I'll get to that when that time comes. But that will be at the end. This is going to brew just like this for an hour. So you basically want like a, what is it, a rolling, not a rolling boil, but like an aggressive simmer, let's say. That makes the most sense. Alright, so this is what we're looking for. So you can hear, I don't know why I zoomed in so you can hear it better. You can hear the sizzling going on the bottom, but it's not boiling, alright? It's just moving around that liquid. Maybe we get, whoop, we get fogged up for sure. Maybe we get a little bit of, you know, surface tension, some ripples. That's fine, but we don't want like an aggressive boil. We want an aggressive simmer. Alright, so we're going to set a timer here. We're going to put it for 1 hour. Alright, exactly. Oops, went too far. Alright. 1 hour. Alright. So I just dropped down to 59 minutes. Alright, so I'll be back in 1 hour. Well, actually I'll be back before an hour, because we have to put our hops in. Now, the time depends on what kind of hops you have. I have to double check, so it might be about 15 minutes before this is done. Alright, I'm back, like 2 seconds later. I reread what I was supposed to do, and it said if you have bittering hops, which these happen to be, bittering and aroma, to put it in for the full 60 minutes. So I'm going to put them in right now. Alright, so let's open this pack up. Oh, man, that smells so good. Alright, hang on, I'll put this in a little dish so you can see them. Alright, these are hop pellets. So instead of having the whole flour, alright, this is hops that are all ground up and then compressed into like little pellets. Almost like some kind of a fish food or something. Alright, so little green pellets. Alright, and man, they smell so good. I don't know why I relate it to weed a lot. You know, if you happen to like weed, it's, I don't know, similar in some way. I mean, it's super dank, like just crazy strong aroma. Smells good. But anyway, there we go. So in my case, they're going in for the full 60 minutes. Give this a stir. You can see almost immediately, well, hopefully you can see some of that, but almost immediately those little pellets kind of dissolved. It turned the whole surface green for a second. Alright. So I'm again going to touch this down just ever so slightly because it's a little bit more aggressive than I want it to be. Again, that's to me boiling. I want it to be more like almost boiling. Alright, so I'll get this right for the temperature, but again, now we're going to go the full 60 minutes and then we'll be done with this. Alright guys, just checking in. Got about 15 minutes to go. Looking great, smelling awesome by the way. When I first put this in, before the hops, it smelled like really delicious cereal. Like your grandparents' cereal, like nothing sugary, like what cereal used to be, which is just like oats and grain. It smelled wonderful. The hops changed something. At first it was funky, but now they were like 45 minutes plus in, like getting a whiff of this, it's really starting to smell like beer, right? It's missing something. Of course, the yeastiness is definitely a huge character there. So we'll see once this is, you know, all done. But, you know, it's getting there. We're almost done doing this stage. So besides that, let me bring you over to sanitation. Welcome to the sanitation station. I just have a container here, which I thoroughly washed out. Then I added some water to it, a gallon of water, and I put the sanitized half that pack, because the pack that comes with it is good for 2 gallons. I have all of our parts in here to make sure it's sanitized, as well as our carboy that's off to the side that was also sanitized. All right, we are done. That is 1 hour. All right, you can see it condensed a little. We got, you know, obviously the steam. We lost a little water, which is totally normal and fine. We're going to add that back, you know, towards the end. So now what we want to do is we want to cool this off, our wort that we've created, as soon as possible. All right, the longer this takes, the more chance you're going to get bacteria in there and things are going to go funky. So what they want you to do, or what's common, is to do an ice bath. So I'm going to put this in my sink with very cold water. I'm going to dump a bunch of ice in there to cool this off as quickly as possible, because we have to put our yeast in next, and that has to be below 75 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise it can kill the yeast. All right, so it's cool off time. Let me get over to the sink, get this set up, and I'll show you the next step. All right, so I'm in an ice bath in the sink. This might complicate things. I actually bought a bag of ice, like a 10-pound bag, for this specifically, just so that I'd have enough ice. I mean, I have a regular refrigerator with a regular freezer. My freezer does make ice, but you know, it's a small container. It wouldn't really cool anything down quickly, so I'm doing this. Now, I'm not exactly sure whether you're supposed to put a lid on this or not. At this point, you do not want other bacteria entering into your wort. You want this to cool off, so you think that you want the cool air or the hot air to evaporate. But I'm going to go ahead and just put a lid on it, just because. If it takes just a little longer, I'm okay with that, because I feel like I'm blocking off the, you know, the chance for bacteria to get in there. So that's it. I'll move this around, agitate it a little bit. Once the wort is cooled off, we can move on to our next step, which is going to be the last step here, in adding the yeast. All right, so that didn't take that long, probably less than 10 minutes. But anyway, we're down to just over 60 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so we want to pour this into our bottle. All right, so this is sanitized. Obviously, all the equipment is sanitized, so we're going to use the funnel, and we're going to get that in there, but you don't want to get the sludge. So at the bottom, there might be some sludge, or there will be sludge. You can use a fine mesh screen inside of the funnel itself to kind of catch some of that, because you don't want all the bits in there. We're really just looking for the liquid. All right, so I'm going to do this off camera just so I don't make a mess, make everything sticky, and I'll get back to you once we're at that point. All right, so it might be hard to see here, but here is all of our wort that's inside of our 1 gallon container. You see it says 1 gallon here. It's going to be just below this, so we lost this much volume. We're just going to add some fresh water to it. I'm going to do it right now, just to make sure we have a full gallon. And then we can add our yeast in there. All right, well, it helps to read. I reread that, and it said it's above where it says 1 gallon. So just add a little bit more water. All right, so last step here, we have our yeast. What we want to do is confirm again that this is not over 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Just gonna wait a second here. And it definitely is not. It's still just a little over 60. All right, we're going to put it in our yeast, and then we are going to shake the hell out of this thing. Not like with an open top. We're going to put the stopper in there. The stopper has a hole in it, so you're going to keep your thumb over that hole. I'll show you in a second. Oh, great. The camera shut off the second I was pouring that in there. All right, so I switched batteries. I was low in power. So I just put in the yeast. What we want to do now is we want to incorporate this and just shake this vigorously for over a minute. But you're not just going to shake it with an open top. We're going to use our stopper, but it still has a hole in it. So make sure when you're shaking this that the hole is covered. So you put your thumb like this over the hole. Make sure you have a very firm grip. You do not want to throw this across the room with an open top. And shake, shake, shake. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so there we go. So I did about 2 minutes of shaking. That's, again, just going to get the oxygen all incorporated in there. All right, next we want to do is take our hose. All right, and we're going to stick one end of the hose into the hole in our stopper, and the other end is going to go in a half full glass of water. All right, this is basically our airlock, but it's a little more forgiving than a regular airlock like we're going to use, because initially you can get foam that pushes out and everything, so it's going to be easier, but I'll explain that more in just a second. I'll show you the setup once it's all done. All right, guys, so here's the setup. This is all done for now. I put this back in the box it came with. We have the hose. Now, instead of a cup of water, I just use this. Just gives more area. It's not necessary. You can just use a cup, but we have an airlock because the tip is below the water line, so no air is coming in or other bacteria. This is going to start fermenting 48 to 72 hours. It'll start, you know, being pretty vigorously fermenting. After a couple days, it says you can take this away, the hose, and just put the actual airlock on the top. This is going to ferment for 2 weeks. In the meantime, I will make another update video at some point. So this is the end of this video, but as this is chugging along, I'll show you the update, eventually the bottling process, and then eventually a taste test. All right, so very excited to try this. First time brewing beer. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this process. If you brew your beer, especially regularly, of course you can give tips. Feel free to leave whatever comments you got down below. Hope you have a great day. See you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.